In the myth of Prometheus, Prometheus shapes humanity from clay, and he cherishes his creation like it's his own children. He asks Apollo to give them a gift, and she grants them the butterfly, symbolizing the ability to change and evolve. The gods on Mount Olympus mock Prometheus and demand that humans worship them blindly, serving only their divine authority. Instead, Prometheus deceives the gods, pretending to comply while secretly empowering his creation. He steals fire from the heavens, gifting it to humanity, along with the knowledge to craft weapons and armor. This act of rebellion infuriates the gods, who, seeing humanity thrive with forbidden technology, they plan on wiping out humans with a great flood. Prometheus warns his children that a great flood is coming and instructs them to build an ark. This myth may sound familiar, and in the Christian context, this was the Book of Enoch that was not in the canonized version of the Bible, and the Book of Noah. In almost every culture, there is a myth that is similar to the myth of Prometheus, and that's because there has always been an elite group trying to control the narrative. They're trying to keep the status quo. Technology has the capability of enhancing our lives to better the quality of life for ourselves and our families. And the group on Mount Olympus wants to make sure that we are subservient, that they keep their role as the gods on top of Mount Olympus. Over the years, I've lost my way. I've applied free market capitalism to social media, where views and clicks equate success. This couldn't be further from the truth. And the reality is, my most successful work came from the heart. It came from God. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy the show.
Well, from a market cap point of view, I think it's got like a long way to go, 10 or 100x. But I think the ultimate outcome of this is that governments stop controlling currency. Really, like we exist in this world today where there's like 190 countries or so. Some of them are pegged to the dollar, but there's maybe like 150 or so currencies, and each country has its own currency. That might sound like an obvious thing, but like imagine if every country had its own internet. Like that would be a terrible situation, right? Like somebody in Germany wants to listen to your podcast and like they have to pay an exchange fee because they're using different internets or something like that. Like that would be super inefficient, right? We should all be running on the same internet globally. Well, we should all be running on the same monetary system globally, but do it in a way that takes the power out of the hands of like a small group of bureaucrats that can manipulate the currency or whatever. It should be like a fair system that no one country or company controls. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing is the power to issue currency is being unbundled from the state, and it's returning that power into the hands of individuals and people who they can choose what they want to use. They don't have to use it just because they live in that country. And that's going to be a more fair and free society. It's going to be money that can't be inflated away. It's going to be every transaction you can do instantly, for a tiny amount instead of like 2 to 3% every time you swipe your credit card. And it's going to work cross-border. Like there's tons of people who are trying to send money to their family in another country, or they're trying to order goods from another country. Like the current financial system is this incredibly unfair tax on every transaction in the economy, and it kind of just slows down all progress.
Mm-hmm. After Henry Kissinger negotiated a deal with the Saudis had a surplus of dollars. The entire world was paying the Saudis with dollars, and it became the standard to use dollars for oil. And everybody that took dollars needed to earn a yield. What are you going to do with a surplus of dollars after you've spent money for all of your needs and wants? This is why the U.S. markets have flourished over the years, because they have deep liquidity. The whole world is funneling money into the Middle East, and the Middle East is funneling the money into U.S. dollar investments. We criticize U.S. government, the Federal Reserve, the U.S. Treasury, but the reality is we are forced to print money. If we do not stop printing money, the entire global economy comes to a standstill. But now we're seeing the rise of crypto. We're seeing the rise of Bitcoin and digital assets that can create great efficiencies in the global economy. As more and more wealth is funneled into the crypto world, we're going to see the tokenization of the financial markets come to fruition. And at first, US dollar denominated stable coins will be the bridge between the old system to the new. But finally, when all assets are in the tokenized economy, the rug pull happens with the US dollar. This is a period of transition. This is a period where you and I can create a better reality for ourselves and our families. There may be ebbs and flows, but there is no top to this market. This market keeps going until reality is changed.
The clients, so to speak, that we serve today are predominantly financial advisors who are trying to learn more about crypto, trying to understand what this asset class is, how to invest, how to allocate, and understanding how to communicate with their clients about it. Back in 2021, we were about to enter the crypto bubble. Sam Bankman-Fried was about to happen, and the whole FTX debacle, and Terra Luna was about to blow up. Gary Gensler was about to come into power and do all the nefarious negative things against the crypto community with massive enforcements, huge array of fines, everything that the government could to really cause problems for this industry. So advisors back then routinely said, it's too volatile, it's a fad or it's a fraud. The only people who are engaged in it are crooks. Today, most of those comments have gone away as advisors have begun to realize none of that was true. Or if it was true, it was true 10 or 15 years ago, and it isn't true any longer. And today they're raising newer objections. Advisors say it's too late because Bitcoin's at an all-time high, or Bitcoin is too volatile, or quantum computers are going to destroy Bitcoin, or it's nothing but a pump and dump scheme. Or my favorite, they say Bitcoin is nothing but a speculative bet. All of these are myths. None of them are true, and advisors need to learn the truth.
As favorable regulations come about, we're seeing more and more financial advisors and investment professionals choose to allocate parts of their clients' portfolios and their own portfolios into crypto. It's the opposite, the contrary to what has happened with investments since the beginning of time. As sovereign wealth funds FOMO into the crypto world, we're going to see elevated prices, but also elevated liquidity that opens the door for any use case that is imaginable.
The government might ban it. Today, we have a president who is strongly supportive of Bitcoin and crypto generally. Donald Trump has made it clear that he wants the United States to be the crypto capital of the planet. Every member of his cabinet personally owns Bitcoin. All of his economic cabinet appointees strongly favor Bitcoin. The secretaries of Treasury, Commerce, Department of Labor, the head of the SEC, the CFTC, the OCC, the FDIC. In Congress, we have majorities of both parties in both the House and Senate strongly supporting crypto. So it's no longer a question, is the government behind this? We know that they are. We know that they are vastly supportive. And as a result of all of that, for the first time ever, institutional investors are able to engage because there's now support by regulators. There is now access to the investment opportunities. So we're seeing endowment funds, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, family offices, and other institutional engagers participating for the first time ever. All of it adding up to massive flows into Bitcoin and other digital assets. And we know the drill. As the assets flow in, the prices go up. And for all of those reasons, I'm arguing that today, Bitcoin is not the speculative, scary, unpredictable, or uncertain asset it used to be just a few years ago. Today, we now know it is a mainstream asset and belongs in a long-term diversified portfolio.
Crypto is maturing and the facts are changing. We've always had concerns that the government would one day ban crypto, but instead we're seeing the government embrace crypto. And you may be wondering what happens when the Trump administration is no longer the administration. Can't the next president just undo everything that was done? Well, not necessarily. When you start having these institutional investors and endowments and sovereign wealth funds invested in this space, it's going to be very difficult to unwind.
The Trump administration and Congress have made it clear institutions are permitted to allocate to Bitcoin, and they are very busy working on it right now. Virtually every insurance company, brokerage firm, bank, hedge fund, pension fund, endowment fund, sovereign wealth fund, family office, they are all engaged in due diligence right now, studying the crypto question. Should they invest? If so, how and how much? And they're on a various part of their journey. Some of them have already reached the conclusion and they are already investing. Others are engaged in the due diligence process. And it is a process. These institutions don't move quickly. These teams, for example, investment committees, they typically only meet 4 times a year. Board of directors, they only meet 4 times a year. If it takes them 4 or 5 meetings to figure this out, you're talking about 18 months to 2 years before they finally allocate. So the process will take time. I'm anticipating the next 12 to 24 months, you're going to start to see trillions of dollars flowing into crypto generally, and I think Bitcoin mostly specifically. And as those assets flow, the prices are going to rise.
Pension funds and sovereign wealth funds cannot invest in just anything. They have very specific requirements, and it's due to liquidity and how much they can invest in a certain asset class. Since Bitcoin and other crypto assets are getting up there in market cap, it is allowing some of these pension funds and sovereign wealth funds enough liquidity to actually enter. Mainstream media like Bloomberg or the Wall Street Journal has consistently put out headlines that the Trump family is front-running the market prior to regulations and that there are these glaring conflicts of interest. And I make the argument that the left is equally as bad, represents the end stages of crony capitalism, and it showcases just how corrupt this system really is. A benefit of this is that it brings transparency in a perverse way.
The number one question is, am I too late? So, which is an indication of people's fears of buying the top. So people are never going to put much money into it. I was on an interview earlier in the year with someone who hates it. And at the end of the interview, I just said to them, you will own it before the end of the year. You just won't tell anyone.
With the Genius Act passing, as well as other crypto legislation in the pipeline, we're seeing investment advisors and investment professionals' confidence in their crypto thesis.
Some who are speculating that this is just a big pump and dump scheme. And you said it very well. No, I don't think there's any legitimacy to that at all for 2 reasons. Number one, we're extraordinarily early. Even if you're right that these whales are going to dump their holdings, you have to ask yourself, what will the price of Bitcoin have to be for them to decide to dump? It isn't 120,000. I'm willing to say it's not even 500,000, maybe it's 1 million. In other words, even if it's true that there will be a pump and dump, we are so early in the pump that there's plenty of time for you to get invested and enjoy the ride, because it's not going to be over for many, many years. So I think even if somehow it were true, it's so early it doesn't make any difference. And by the way, I don't think it is true, and here's why. For there to be a pump and dump, there has to be one simple thing that happens. The early adopter has to get in and then hold, waiting for the price to rise so they can then sell. That's not how institutions work. If you think about pension funds and 401k plans, you begin to get a sense of why this is not going to end. You see, endowments and pension funds and 401ks, they don't think in terms of years. They think in terms of centuries. If you're a pension fund, you've made promises to the employees of that company or of that union, and those promises is that you're going to give them income for life. That means you're not thinking about the investment returns now. You're thinking about investment returns for the next 50 years. And the money that you have to invest today is not all the money that you have to invest, because the people who are participating in the pension are contributing to the pension fund every single week. That's new money for you to invest. And you're buying Bitcoin every week as a result. If you're in a 401k and you're adding money with every paycheck, you're buying every single week. This isn't an investment you made before that you're sitting on waiting for it to rise. This is an investment you're actively buying on a constant recurring basis. This is how it works for pension funds and 401k plans, and it's how it works for endowment funds. These institutional investors are constantly accumulating new money that has to be deployed. So they are constantly buyers. They don't have an opportunity to dump because they're constantly already getting new money to add.
These whales are so large and so massive that they can't day trade the market. They take their time, they do their due diligence, and when they invest, they keep investing and they keep parking money in liquid assets.
Bitcoin still fits in this situation where I think after 18 years or 17 years of continuing to move higher, being a $2.4 trillion asset, one of the largest assets in the world, it's getting harder and harder for people to be negative against it. So now the acceptance is starting. I think the adoption phase will come once the agentic world takes off. And that's the thing, Sherry, that I just want to make sure. I'm sure we'll be doing these again in the future. Every time I come on, you just ask me, how are we doing on the agentic world? As AI agents are transacting more, stable coins will be used more. That means people are entering into this world of the digital assets. Bitcoin will always gather a portion of that money that ends up there. And I think that's what we're headed for over the rest of this year.
AI agents being able to pay one another is going to unleash new use cases for artificial intelligence, for AI bots. And this is going to lead to a whole entire economy that is self-sufficient and on the internet. Imagine a self-driving truck gets delivered to a smart factory, and the smart factory actually pays the self-driving truck. This is going to get automated and very sophisticated very quickly. AI converging with crypto is happening right now, but it's happening in a very nascent marketplace. And now he says that that's the next phase of adoption, and I disagree with this. I think this is one of the phases that come about when the municipal funds and sovereign wealth funds and endowments start investing in this space and make coins ultra liquid, make protocols ultra liquid. This is where the internet of value truly takes shape. It starts and ends with liquidity. Liquidity is what drives the foundation of the internet of value. Whoever is new to power is always harsh. Consider joining my Patreon to support this channel and gain access to exclusive information, content, and much more.